Welcome to Who Politics, where the game is more than just a game. I'm your host, Who Politics, and here we break it all down, from the fundamentals to the future stars. We talk players, prospects, and the stories that shape the culture. This isn't just analysis, it's perspective. So whether you're a hoop head, a student of the game, or just here for the stories, pull up a seat. Let's talk basketball. Episode four of the Who Politics podcast. What's going on, everybody? I hope y'all been doing well. I appreciate y'all for supporting. I appreciate y'all for listening. The first three podcasts have done very well, or at least well to my liking. And I'm hoping that we continue to get that same support. We continue to push and go in the right direction. If you haven't already, make sure y'all subscribe to the YouTube channel. If you are listening on YouTube, and if you're on Spotify, then say what's up there, subscribe there as well. Follow on TikTok, follow on Instagram, follow on Substack, follow everywhere. Who Politics is practically everywhere on all different types of social media platforms. I appreciate all the continuous love and all the continuous support, and we are going to continue to try to push the bump forward. With that being said, I want to go ahead and get into it because this is something that's been very heavy on me for quite some time, and this might be a little bit of a different style or a different approach to the last three podcasts, but hopefully you guys stick with me. Hopefully you guys understand where I'm coming from and it all makes sense. So to begin with, I believe in the Bible. Before we go any further, I fully believe in the Bible. I am a Christian. I have always been a Christian. I did not grow up in the church. Christianity or the belief of Jesus Christ, while it was always something that has been in me from the very beginning, me getting my own relationship and attempting to pursue him is something that I achieved in my adult years. So I have a very different perspective from a lot of other people who probably grew up in the church all their life and they know nothing else. So I want to go ahead and lay down that foundation before we even get into this podcast. Now, I've been kind of chilling for a while, and something that I do a lot of times with basketball is I'm constantly daydreaming. I'm constantly writing stuff down. I'm constantly reading and trying to figure out new ways to make the game of basketball better. What are the things that need to be removed? What are things that need to be added? And just how can I continuously try to make an impact on the game outside of simply going out with a camera and playing it? I believe that Who Politics is something that's going to be around for a very long time, and it's going to have a major impact on the game, but that can only happen if I continue to do the work now. With that being said, something that was dropped into my spirit, and I don't believe it was by coincidence, is 2 Peter chapter 1, verse 20 through 21. And I'm going to read this and then we'll be able to get into it. Quote, "Knowing this first, that no prophecy of scripture is of any private interpretation, for prophecy never came by the will of man, but holy men of God spoke as they were moved by the Holy Spirit." Amen. So that came into my spirit, and I really couldn't understand why for quite some time. But as I began to ponder it more and more, I started to get more and more ideas that I'm pretty much here now putting on wax. Let me also say this. I am nobody's pastor. I am nobody's apostle. I am nobody's prophet. So do not hold me accountable for anything that you choose to believe, because I am none of those things. I'm just passing out information and things that have come to me, or whatever type of revelation that has come in my way, and how to connect it to basketball. Now, what exactly does this scripture mean? Well, before we get too deep into it, it's Peter talking to early Christians and basically encouraging them about their faith and continuing to build them up, because he is going to be going off soon to be killed. But he wants to continue to encourage the young Christians who are going to be the future Christians to carry on the things of the text and just how to live and commune with one another and interact with the world. Now, when it says the Bible speaking of private interpretation, it's referring to the danger of individuals interpreting scripture outside the context of community, accountability, and divine truth. Community, accountability, and divine truth. When you remove accountability, community, and divine truth, what happens many times is you get, not many times, all the time, you get people who would rather listen to their own personal opinions and let that take precedent over the shared truth. The truth is not something for secret. The truth is something that is amongst everybody. It's amongst everybody. When you have private truths that only we know about, that's how cults are built. That's how you get a small group of people who eventually turn into a massive congregation, and they go off to an island and they drink a bunch of Kool-Aid and you never hear from them again. The truth is for everybody. And if it is the actual truth, it will stand against anybody. Many times when you look at people within the church, you will see people who will essentially get their own Bible study going within the church. They'll get their own Bible study going within the church. They'll pull people home or pull people over to their house, to their living room, to their kitchen, and start Bible studies where they're not searching for the truth more so than they are searching for their own following. They are looking to grow their own brand, grow their own likeness within the community or within the congregation on the church. And as it continues to build and get bigger and bigger and bigger, eventually they try to overthrow the church and overthrow the lead pastors, the apostles, the elders, and what have you. It's a coup. They are trying to do it from the inside. Now, why do they go and do that privately? I promise this is going to make sense. Just stick out with me. Just stick it out with me, guys. Why are they doing that privately? Why don't they do it in the church where everybody else can see? Because when a community is built on the truth, it doesn't allow space for lies to grow. It doesn't allow the space for the lies to grow and for other people to be pulled into it, which would then lead to a cult. You have to do your deeds in the dark and make it normal amongst enough people before you can come to the light with it and say, this is who we are and this is what we believe and it's okay to do this and you should be all on board with it. Everything starts in the dark. It never starts in the light. A lot of these people who do these things are people who feel as though they were supposed to be a pastor. They believe they were supposed to be in position of authority. They believe that they were supposed to get this spot or that spot. Or they might have went and said a word one time and they got the applause from the congregation and they allow for that to feed their ego, to feed their lust. And they started to think that people were cheering for the messenger opposed to the message that comes from God. They then let that ego get with them. And now they want to continue to feel that feeling. They want to continue to feed that lust. Then you have people who start saying, man, like, you're chosen by God. You got oil on you. You got this on you. You got that on you. You hear it, you listen to it. And if you don't have community around you, somebody to shut that down, to say, hey, look, God gave you a word, or hey, you do have gifts. But that does not mean that you are supposed to get out of your lane and get into this other lane, because that's where car crashes happen. That's why there is a process when it's done right, at least. Not people getting voted in, but when there is actually a real process. Who is hearing from the Lord? Who has spoken for this person? Who is your apostle? Who is your OG? Who has laid hands on you and said, no, you are supposed to be this. This mantle has been passed on to you. Who has done these things? Where can we go reference back to where you come from? Not just you pop out one day and now you're the guy. What is your structure? What is your testing? Where's your testing grounds for this? Even Paul was led into the desert after God revealed himself to him for a number of years before he came back and started doing Romans and everything else. I started thinking about all these things. And I started to see how a lot of these things connects over to basketball. I look at basketball today, especially on the men's side more than the women's side, and I see a game that I just don't enjoy as much because I'm watching guys who do not love the game the way they're supposed to. I see guys playing the game the way that they're not supposed to. And the main reason for that today is because there is no more community within basketball. Basketball no longer has a community aspect. What do I mean by that? Growing up, when I was coming up, we're talking about early 2000s. Every city, every major city in America had a central location where everybody got together to hoop. No matter if we're talking about the DMV, run and shoot, where I was at, sport and health, but where you're talking about the run and shoot, or whether you're talking about a place like Iowa, if you ask people from Iowa, they will tell you of a place somewhere in the state or in the major cities where you can go and get bumped every weekend or 2 or 3 times a week. There, you had a mix of players. You had young guys, high school guys. You had college guys, the older guys. You had maybe some former pros or some current pros. And then you had the elders. You had the OGs, the guys who maybe played pro, maybe played college, maybe they didn't, but they did something within the area where everybody knows them and everybody respects them. The OGs are very important. Those are your elders, equivalent in the church, your apostles, guys who come down and check stuff and make sure that you guys are playing and doing the right things out here. When you got into trying to do a double cross step back, contested 3 with 4 people on you, somebody cussed you out. Somebody cussed you out. They didn't pass you the ball no more, and they didn't pick you up anymore. And if you kept doing, people told you stop showing up. The things that you were doing in your private workouts, your private mixtapes that you're putting together was being put to test when you came to your community bump. That jump shot you think works, we'll find out. That handle you think you have, we'll find out if it's legit, because you are constantly being pushed. You are constantly having the pressure of your community on you to where you are going to find out what works and what doesn't work and how you have to play the game. That's how you build structure. That's how you build community. That's how you had guys across the years who understood how to play the game the right way. Everybody didn't have a crazy Kyrie Irving bag back in the early 2000s or the 90s or even the 80s. Not everybody had a Kyrie bag, but everybody understood how to play basketball. Everybody understood about space and pace. Everybody knew how to work pick and rolls. Everybody knew how to get to their shot in a multitude of ways. Everybody understood that the best man on our team needs to have the ball, the hot man on the team needs to have the ball, and the open man on the team needs to have the ball. And normally, out of those 3, 2 of those guys are going to be the same person. But that person who was hot also understood he had to keep everybody else involved because he wasn't going to be able to win it by himself. There was a clear understanding of how to play the game of basketball because it was passed down from the OGs. It was passed down from the community, the place you came from. There might be certain things y'all did differently, a jump shot or a crossover or a hezzy, something that added a little flair. Oh, yeah, that's the Chicago crossover. I don't know. You had that kind of stuff. Oh, Chicago guys, they play really hard on the defensive end, or Detroit guys do. You had that. But universally, the truth was always the same across the country. The universal truth of basketball was the same. And you could go anywhere and you could put that same truth to practice against anybody, and it was going to work because it's the truth. Now, what happens is a lot of us in my era grew up and we accepted this truth, because there was too much pressure from the community to allow you to do anything different. Being in high school and having guys come back from college and doing you up crazy made you realize that you need to work on your game more. It made you realize you need to put up more shots. You need to work on your handle. The things that you thought you were nice at isn't that good because this guy came back after one summer of workouts in college and now looks like a totally different human being. He looks like an animal and he's treating you like food. That that 20 dribble series move that you're trying to do got you cussed out and thrown out. And you figured out, okay, the only way I can play here and fit in, but still win, I have to play a certain way. I got to be able to get out in transition. I got to be able to get to my shot in 2 to 3 dribbles max. I got to be ready to knock down the open shot. I got to have my mid range. Back then, there was a lot of bigs down there, so I got to have my floaters ready. I got to know how to play in space and pace. I have to learn how to rotate on defense, how to talk on defense, how to fight over a screen, go under it, hedge it, based on who we are playing against and who was setting the screen and who was the ball handler. KYP, know your personnel. These are all things that were being taught. The universal truth of basketball was being taught. Then you have a lot of these other guys, a very small number at the time, who were in our midst, in our congregation, in our communities, that were told the same things that I'm telling you I was told. Hey, get out of the gym. You're not playing the right way. Stop all that dribbling. You trash. You can't be doing that. That jump shot trash. That's not going to work. A lot of those guys got told that same thing and they took it as spite. They didn't sit in the truth. They ran from it. They left the gym and we didn't see them very often. We saw them here and there at other gyms. We'll play with them, do them up, and then that'd be it. But we wouldn't see them within our congregation on a regular basis. Our same sport and health, or our same run and shoot or whatever it is, 2, 3, 4, 5 times a week. What eventually ends up happening is a lot of those guys and girls, but really guys, they go off to their own private interpretations. They interpreted the truth in their own way without having anybody around to check them. Without having anybody say, no, those guys aren't haters. You was actually out there playing trash. You're not nice enough to be doing that no way, and you don't make that shot. They allow for their own thoughts, their own lust of the flesh, the things that they wanted to tell themselves. They let that feed them. And those guys eventually became individual trainers. Those guys ended up opening up their own AAU teams. This is how, if you look back, early when AAU really started to get popping, and even now, a lot of the AAU teams are ran by a bunch of hood guys who just had the money, didn't really play that much, and they have no real background in basketball. No apostle. Nobody has laid hands on you. Nobody has validated you and said that you're legit and you are allowed to be doing this. They put their own teams together. They put their own congregations together privately. And then they popped out once they got big enough. They told a whole bunch of kids, yeah, you can get 40 here. We just got to get you a mixtape. You should be the man. They're just hating on you. They preyed on the flesh that all young people have. Their own ignorance. We all at one point or another said we should be getting 40 and 50. We should be able to clear people out. But we had the OGs to check that. Now there are these quote unquote OGs who accept that and say, nah, you should be getting 40. And they feed into that child's delusion. Come work out with me. You don't need them. I got the plug. I got the AAU team where you'll be able to do your own thing. I got the mixtape company that I made. I can record it on my phone and we can post it on social media. Kids want to have the likes. They want to have the shares. They want to have the followings in the platforms. They don't want the discipline, even though the discipline is what carries them further in the long run. So what happens? They end up getting on those teams. They're having fun. It looks awesome. Sin always looks good. Sin always looks awesome. It always looks awesome. And it's enjoyable. But in the grand scheme of things, it only hurts you in the long run. It's an unquenchable thirst. It's something that can't be fed and satiated. You start getting the likes, you start getting the comments, you start getting the shares. You're getting the offers because not every basketball coach in college knows what they're looking at either. This kid's over here playing with his AAU team, getting 40, taking all the shots. Well, he's getting 40 in the Under Armour League or in the EYBL. We're offering him. Not knowing this kid doesn't know the game of basketball because he's under somebody else who doesn't know the game of basketball. Because he ran away from the truth. He ran away from his bump when he was a kid and created his own interpretation of the truth. Now, just like a church, back then, the community did not go over there and destroy them when they ran away and got to their own congregation. They didn't come in and tear down all those Bible studies and say, cut that crap out. Y'all get out of there and y'all come back over here. They said, it's all good. We have the numbers and we're still telling the truth. And the congregation is big enough to where we can still drown out that noise. Same thing in the basketball community. But over time, because what we also don't like to do, church and basketball, we also like to sit in the old ways, even though they're right, but not adapt to what's going on in the world. That doesn't mean be a part of the world, but that means adapt to it and understand that the same opportunities that are out there to do the wrong things, we can also take those opportunities and amplify the right things. Mixtapes is not a problem. Shooting a step back three is not a problem. It's about context and knowing when to do it, the right time to do it, how it works, and why it works. These guys who are trainers are guys who didn't do it. They got nice after it didn't matter anymore, or they never got nice. And they just gave a bunch of dribbling combinations to a lot of these kids and said, yeah, do this and you'll be able to get 40. And that's how you have kids who now have an immense bag, a crazy bag, where they got all the step backs, all the hezzies, all the crosses, but they don't know when to do them. You got kids who are butt naked wide open for a shot and they choose to do an in and out cross anyways. Nobody's there. Just shoot it. Oh, you weren't taught that. That's what an OG is for. That's what community is for. You have these guys who are so talented, but have low IQ. They do not understand the game of basketball. That number of those guys who ran away from their bump as a kid, those guys who didn't accept the truth when it was given to them, that number got bigger and bigger. And all it took was for them to eventually run into some 5-star kids. Kids who actually had talent, who actually had potential, who had gifts from God. And those guys normally would have been swooped up by the OGs in the community and raised them up the right way and the way that they should go. But the trainers got to them. The individual trainers, the private trainers, the AAU coaches, promising them the same thing that all kids have in their heart at an early age, whether you're talented or not. Those guys start going over there, playing with those AAU teams, training with those guys. And because they are talented, they can't get 40. And they are getting 40. Kids see that. And now they want to be like that person. They want to be like that player. They want to have the same things. And a lot of those kids who were supposed to be a part of the bigger community start going off to private interpretations. So much so to where the community no longer exists. The people who are supposed to be the OGs today have ran away from their bump. And they've allowed for the basketball community to become in disarray. I'm not worried about that. I got mine. I already got my money as a pro, or I already went to college as a pro or whatever. I'm not going to be chasing these kids down. You know what? Whatever. And now it's just the wild, wild west. Now, when you look at basketball, it's full of the private trainers. It's full of the mixtapes that are coming out of nowhere. It's full of these AAU teams that you've never heard of, where they got some kid taking all the shots, playing against some other people you've never heard of before, where the talent doesn't even look like it's worth a nickel's worth of dog meat. But it's on a mixtape, and it's on TikTok, and it's on Instagram, and it's going viral, and people are loving it. That following grows, and as that following grows, the college coaches start coming. Those guys start getting ranked because, you know, Paul Bancardi and all those guys, they got to make sure that they're keeping up with whoever the hottest guy is. And so they can say they found them first and they're right all the time with their 5-star predictions. And the NBA looks at those 5-star ESPN guys, invites them to the camp, start coming and looking at them. Now you have guys who know nothing about basketball, who are now in positions to be drafted lottery. And the cycle is continuing and continuing. This is how you get LaMelo Balls. Nothing against him, but that's how you get it. That's how you get the Mikey Williams situations. That's how you get a lot of these things. That's how you get your Julian Newmans. It has to be better. It has to be better. Way better. Basketball is a community sport. You have all of these private trainers. You have all of these AAU teams you never heard of. But when's the last time in 2025 where you were able to go to a gym consistently 4 to 5 times out of the week and there was always bump there? Not some civilians playing basketball. We're talking about bump. A place where the guys who are playing basketball in high school meet up. And there's college guys that still show up. And there's some pros that show up. Where there is an integration of different levels and different ages of basketball players who all have played at some level. And everybody is getting better. When's the last time we saw that? Now you have to have a group chat and y'all are kind of flaky in that as well. Hey, when are the runs? When are the runs? Oh, you know, we'll try to see if we can get into 24-hour fitness. We'll try to see if we can get into LA Fitness, but you know, they tripping over there today. Where are the OGs to open up the high schools? Where are the OGs to have their own gyms and say, yeah, we're open here at 3:00 in the afternoon. Y'all be here. And y'all better come out here and play the right way. Because if y'all in here doing that foolishness, I'm going to lock this gym up, kick y'all out, and go back home to my wife and kids. When's the last time you saw that? Now, of course, you know, you can get into all of the, oh, well, you know, systematic racism and, you know, they took the gyms away and the parks away and da-da-da-da-da and gaming and streaming. You can get into all that if you want to. But at the end of the day, clearly, there is still an uptick of players who want to play basketball. And clearly, there's an uptick of people who have played basketball who are older. And clearly, the truth is still out there, elusive to some of you. Who is going to take up that mantle? Who is going to take that torch and start setting things in order within their own communities? Jeff Teague, if I'm not mistaken, coaches at his old high school, Pike. Or at least he coaches somewhere in Indiana. That should not be an anomaly. There should be NBA, not even NBA, because I'm not going to even put it on them. There should be guys who have extensive experience in basketball who are coaching in their community, who are opening the doors to the gym for their community. I'm not saying it should all be on just one person, because everybody has their own family and have their own situations going on. But that's why it's a community effort, not elders. People who are able to get into the gym, people who are able to text the gang and say, yo, y'all be here at this time. Let's get it in. And when we do these workouts, they are supervised and done a certain way. And so that we understand what we are doing, how we are doing it, why we are doing it, and when we are doing it. That's what creates smart basketball players. That's what creates players that may not have the best jump shot, but they are able to still make an impact on the game and knock down the shots that they do take because they understand their game. They understand their game. They understand how to get to their shots. They understand where their shots are coming from, and then they know how to get to them. I saw a post the other day. Somebody tagged me on TikTok. I can't think of the guy's name. Actually, I'm going to pull it up because I'm going to give him some credit. Where is it at? Hang tight with me for a second. I want to make sure I get it. Let's see here. So this guy was screen recorded, so I can't even say user 5928192612612295. Basically, this light-skinned dude, don't know his name. Light-skinned dude who, okay, I guess maybe this is him. Chip Overseas. TikTok account, 17.7 thousand views. Apparently, he is a professional or former professional overseas basketball player. And he made a video where he was saying, a lot of you guys are training like you're going to the NBA and, trying to do all these post-ups in the mid-range and face up and going to 23 different dribble moves before getting a shot off, showing Cayenne Anthony, and said, you guys don't need to train like this. You need to train for college. Train for the level you are on. Got pretty good traction. Some people tagged me in and asked me my thoughts. I might make a TikTok video about that as well. Famous Los comes in and basically says, no, prepare yourself for the NBA. Prepare yourself for the league. Chip had, I guess, whatever words he had. Famous Los responds and says, basically whatever, that just shows where my mind is at and where yours is. Now, Famous Los has played ball. He was actually dumb nice. High school, and I want to say he played D2 as well. Boy was actually nice. But when private interpretation takes rampant, it still leads to these type of ideas, these type of conversations. The truth is no longer rooted in the community. It's no longer generally known and understood. It's now based on your own preference and your own way of looking at things. Los is wrong. How are you going to train for the NBA when you don't understand the game of basketball? Going into all of these dribble counters and step backs and fadeaways and spin moves and all these other things when you're not going to be given the opportunity to do that in the NBA is dumb. That is not preparing you for the NBA. That is not preparing you for professional basketball. On the opposite side, I just saw a clip today of Anthony Morrow sitting on a podcast, and he said, which is what I believe, you got to learn what you're going to do in the NBA. You got to have something you hang your hat on that'll get you in, that makes you stick. You can catch and shoot. You know how to move off of the ball and catch and shoot. You are a point guard. You get other people involved. You know how to work the pick and roll. You are a high-level rebounder. You are a defender. Whatever it is, you have something that you hang your hat on. And once you get in, you then expand your game and show people other things that you are capable of doing. Oh, I can post up and get into a bag. My role expands once I have a role. Many of you are coming in and trying to determine what your role is. And that's how you get your Mikey Williams. That's how you get your Sharif Coopers. These guys who have all the moves, they can play, they nice, but they're just trying to get a bucket. Now, are they good enough to get a bucket in the NBA? Sure, maybe. I don't know. Maybe not, but let's just say they are. Why would I take you when I already have Kobe? Why would I take you when I already have KD? Why would I take you when I already have Braun or Devin Booker or Steph or Clay. I had professional scores. Guys who can blow up on any given night and get 60. Damian Lillard's, Giannis, Chris Middleton's, whoever you want to throw out there. Why would I take you? This idea of training for the pros to y'all, to this new generation of basketball is let me have bag work. It's just bag work. Highlight reel basketball. It's not real basketball. It's one-on-one basketball. It's not moving without the ball. Space and pace. Starting at the wing and sliding down into the deep corner and catching and shooting. Sliding from the corner to the wing, catch and shoot. Wing to the top of the key, so on and so forth. Catch, one dribble, pull up, pump fake. Catching on the move, floaters. Running hard, full court, in transition, catch and shoot. That's a real skill set. That's a real skill set that will get you paid, and you will get the opportunity to expand and show more of what you can do because you're on the team and you're on the court. Bag work is not preparing you for the NBA. Bag work is preparing you to get a big social media following and get some girls in the process. And I guess nowadays NIL money, sure. But the NIL money is not going to add up to the NBA money. Let's not play that type of game. If you just want your money, continue to do what you're doing with the NIL money. But if we're talking about building an actual career on a pro level in the NBA, you need to know how to play basketball. You got to know how to play basketball. College is where you learn how to play basketball. You even hear guys like Gilbert Arenas. Guys should be allowed to come out of high school and go straight to the NBA because the high school game is more tailored to the NBA. College is more system and structure, and it takes away your creativity. Everybody doesn't need to have creativity in basketball, in the NBA. You have your role players, and you have those ones, those guys who should be allowed to have creativity. Kevin Durant working on his bag is totally different from you working on your bag. You need to learn how to play in structure because ultimately the NBA is structure, or it used to be at least. Now it's just get up and down, get into a pick and roll, and everybody be ready to catch and shoot. There's only one guy doing all the pick and rolls and creating for himself. You got to be able to catch and shoot. That still sounds like a role to me in college that you can work on. There's more to the game than just the bag work. There's more to it. And the only way basketball is going to get back to the way that it's supposed to be is not only to continue to see teams be successful, such as Indiana Pacers or Oklahoma City Thunder, where on any given night, a player comes off the bench and can break out and get 30 or 40 like a Benedict Mathurin or a Neesmith or Nimhard, Jalen Williams, J-Dub, or Lou Dort, Alex Caruso, whoever it is. You got to have more of those. But you also have to have guys who come back to the community. OGs need to start taking up their mantle. They need to start taking up their responsibilities and start opening the gyms back up and start making sure that the game is being played the right way. Start getting back in the community and talking to the parents and getting them on board early with how basketball needs to be played. And so parents can entrust their kids to them and they can come up the right way. That in turn will lead to certain college programs getting the type of players that they need. That's why teams like Duke, Michigan State, St. John's, Kansas, Houston, that's why teams like that can still be successful in this new day and age of basketball, because the truth is the truth no matter what year we're in or who you are facing. Yeah, it may not be as exciting sometimes, But I mean, as a true basketball lover, it is exciting watching people play the right way. That's why Golden State was so magical during their time, 2015, 16, 17, and so on. Yeah, they had incredible talent, but they played the right way. And it opened the opportunity to see Andre Iguodala hit a big shot out of nowhere to win it all. Just like when Kobe was playing in the Lakers, the way they played allowed for Derek Fisher to hit a crazy shot on San Antonio, falling out of bounds with 0.7 seconds left and run into the tunnel afterwards, people running behind him. Opposed to get the ball, let me clear it out and just go one-on-one. That's not always necessary. Now, I want to make sure I make it very clear. I am not saying dribble moves and bag work isn't necessary. I'm not saying, it's not necessary. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm not saying this is an all trainers thing. I'm not saying this is all AAU. AAU is good. Trainers are good. Bag work is good. In moderation. In moderation. Still being watched over by the community, by your community, by your OGs. OGs that actually have a background where somebody has ordained them and said, yeah, he's legit. Not the guy who's telling you what you want to hear, that you just like. Your neighborhood OG who's just been around. It's all about being in moderation. It's not a bad thing, but it has to be done the right way. Too many talented basketball players are being lost in the shuffle because they don't know how to play basketball, and they're picking the wrong schools to go to because they're going based on what they will be allowed to do, just like it was for them in high school and in AAU. You need to go somewhere where it's going to be hard, where somebody is going to make you better, a coach, and is going to expose your weaknesses and force you to get better at them because you actually love the game and you actually want to get better at it. This is probably the only reason why women's basketball is more exciting nowadays than men's basketball. Because when you watch the women's game, they at least still play basketball. Is the talent anywhere near in the range of NBA? No. No, it is not. Not close. But it is enjoyable to watch basketball players play the game together, play hard, and play the right way. You don't know who's going to show up in a women's basketball game and get to it because it's all based on what the game is needed and what has to be provided. And everybody has an equal opportunity to get to it because nobody is playing with ego and everybody has accepted the universal truth that the hot man's going to get the ball, the open man's going to get the ball, and the best player is going to get the ball. And we are going to communicate and talk and rotate on defense and sell out. It's a long one. It's a long one, man, but that's just been on my mind. It's been on my heart. And I just want to get it out here. Like I said before, I am nobody's pastor. I am nobody's prophet. I am nobody's apostle. Do not hold me to that. I will not accept it. Okay. I hope that y'all enjoyed this podcast. We're pretty much right there at 45 seconds, not 45 seconds, 45 minutes. And that's cool enough for me. I appreciate all y'all who sat around and listened to this rant. Hopefully it touched some of y'all. Share this with other people. Share this with your OGs. Share this with college guys. Share this with your AAU coaches. And let's try to get the conversation going of what we as a community can do to try to make the game of basketball better and bring it back to what it's supposed to be, what it should be. A community activity, not one that's left up to private interpretation. Make sure you guys follow on Substack. Make sure you guys follow the TikTok, the Instagram. Subscribe on YouTube if you're listening. Subscribe on Spotify if you're listening there. Wherever you guys are at, just follow, support. Let me know what you guys thought about this episode. I'm out of here. Y'all take care, man. Peace.